Chamber Choir. Take it away. Thank you so much, Foundation community, and thank you so much for the support of our students. You are the village that we're singing about, the village that raises all of our children here in Saline. We were so grateful for a grant last year from the Foundation. We commissioned a brand new piece of choral music from a really wonderfully nationally known composer. We were the first to ever perform it, and now you can see it on the screen. It just went into print, and Saline High School and our name is at the very top. And that will go, we hope, throughout the country to many other choirs to spread the Foundation's work and our work in Saline. So thank you so much for that grant. And to finish today, of course, to do the tip-off with you, we have a new arrangement of the fight song. Thank you so much.
first and foremost, I need to know, can everybody hear me? Can we hear me in the back? Can we hear me, Lisa? Excellent. I know last year we had a little issue. I want to make sure everybody is hearing everything that we're doing today. Again, my name is Ann Pierce-Price. I'm the Executive Director of the Foundation for Saline Area Schools. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And before I even have the sponsors come up, I do need to tell you that we have had a kickoff for many, many years. And the reason that it turned into a tip-off this year was thanks to Brett Walcott, one of my wonderful sponsors, who will come up here in a minute. When we were talking, and Shannon Washington had already committed, he said, Ernst, call it a tip-off. You're sitting in a gym. So thank you, Brett. All the credit goes to Brett. He's thrilled about that. Okay, anyway, we are thrilled to have you here today. First of all, I'd like to begin by thanking my most incredible board. With the leadership of Katie Murphy, we have this phenomenal group of trustees. Would all of you please stand right now, and let's give them a warm. They put in countless hours of their time and their talent, and I am so appreciative. Thank you to Superintendent Graydon and the Saline Area School staff, administration, the incredible events committee that put this on today under the leadership of Sarah, Kawana, and Carolyn McFarland, and everybody that helped. Thanks to our presenting sponsors, Eric Brust from Stieber and Brust Orthodontics, and Brett Walcott from Walcott Dental. Thank you for Wally and Max providing yet another incredible meal that I hope you're enjoying, along with Jeff's Pizza that's providing some pizza and salad for the kids. Thanks to sponsors Saline Flowerland, Party Central for the decorations, and to SCS Image Group for the takeaway gifts. Thank you, Steve and Brian. Would all my sponsors that are here today please stand? Let's welcome them and give them a big round of applause. Thanks to many people like Joe Freeman, Jeff Berman, Troy Wissing, and Greg Spittler for all their help. Thank you for the Alternative High School for setting up this wonderful, all the tables and chairs yesterday, to all the speakers for making this a very special event. It truly takes a lot to make an event like this come off. To all foundation donors, volunteers, and sponsors, thank you for supporting the foundation. I'd like to take this time to recognize our elected officials. We have 3 Saline Area School Board of Education members in the House. Heidi Fonz, our Vice President, Paul Heineck, our President, and Tim Austin, Trustee. Would you all stand too, please? To put it simply, the Foundation for Saline Area Schools provides funding to enable the schools to pursue excellence, both now and into the future. The foundation does this by funding teacher, district, building, student-led, and partnership grants. Since 1987, the foundation has given almost $1.3 million to Saline schools. Using games to enhance critical thinking and problem solving at the middle school. Microbits, visible coding in elementary schools. An ecosystem model reef tank in a high school class, a TEDx talk for our heritage students, cardio drumming in elementary music classes, needed Chromebooks, and a school and community showing of the movie Angst, a documentary about the awareness of anxiety. These are just a few of the grants that have impacted our students just throughout the last year that align with the Saline Compass and Learner Profile attributes. Today is a great day because you, our donors, volunteers, sponsors, and community, are here and making it even better because you are supporters of the Saline schools and the foundation. Thank you for making a significant difference for our students and enabling this district to continue to be one of the best schools in the state of Michigan. At this time, I'd like to welcome Eric Brust from Brust and Stieber Orthodontics and Brett Walcott, who I give the credit to for the tip-off. And they are presenting sponsors who come up and please say a word.
Well, top of the afternoon to you. It's a pleasure to speak to you all. At the tip-off, I was going to shoot a half-court shot, but the buckets are up, so I'll have to hold off on that one. We just celebrated our first year in Saline, and it went very well at Steeper and Brust. I'm Dr. Brust. This is my younger partner, Dr. Steeper, and we've got great news. We have actually had a Saline graduate join our practice, Dr. Lean Khatib. She just graduated from Indiana University this summer, and she's joined us. So now we got girl power also, so everybody's loving that. And it's exciting though to team up with the Saline schools. They provide so many great opportunities for students and so many programs. And as a business in town, we want to be a part of the community and also give back to the community. So it's one way we can do that with that. And so we look forward to working with you guys long term. Go Hornets and go swarm them. Okay? All righty. Here's Brett.
Thanks, Eric. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Brett Walcott, dental practice called Walcott Dental. I'm a 99 graduate of Saline High School, which is why when Amherst approached me in my backyard about doing something with the foundation, I said, yeah, it sounds good to give back. I was blessed to be able to go to these schools, got me to where I am, and now I have 3 kids that'll be 2 at Woodland Meadows, and 1 will be there soon. So anything I can do to give back, to continue to make Saline schools, the best in the state, something that I want to be a part of. So thank you for having me.
All right, well, the reason you're here, not to hear from me, but definitely to hear from our incredible teachers and students and to see these grants in action. So I'd like to welcome up to the stage Emily Petrus, our wonderful teacher and speech path from Woodland Meadows, her wonderful students. And this year, actually last year, Emily got 3 grants, and she's going to highlight, I know for sure, 2 of them, one of them you'll find out about those red glasses sitting at your table. Welcome Emily and her students, and Ms. Becca too, who will speak right after.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Thank you, Amherst, so much for having me. My name is Emily Petrus, and I am one of the speech-language pathologists within the district. I support students and staff at Woodland Meadows Elementary, and I also support our district with their assistive technology needs. This is my 4th year with Saline, and each of the past 3 years I have applied for and so graciously received 1 or more of the foundation grants. And last year I wrote 2 and co-wrote a 3rd, so I'm going to talk with you a little bit about 2 of them today. The first one I'm going to cover is for Leader in Me. This was co-written by one of our 3rd grade teachers, Jill Parrish, and also our principal, Michelle Chapowitz. The Leader in Me is a children's version of the research done by Stephen Covey. His book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, and is an evidence-based, comprehensive school transformation process. This encompasses the 7 core habits and is meant to empower students with leadership and life skills for the 21st century. The Leader in Me creates a culture of student empowerment, and it's based on the idea that every child can be a leader in some way or another. The Leader in Me promotes the development of social and emotional competency, improves student learning through readiness, and increases engagement through student-led learning. Every student and staff member at Woodland Meadows is taught these 7 habits that are listed up there. And these habits build a supportive culture for students to expand their creativity, their collaboration, their critical thinking, and their communication, all while focusing on our core curriculum. It encourages students to set their own learning goals and to celebrate their progress and become a leader of their academics. It provides structure to develop student leaders and future-ready citizens. It increases student self-confidence, student collaboration, teacher collaboration, and overall staff effectiveness. So in addition to a PTA grant that we've also received for additional staff trainings, this foundation grant was specifically written to obtain Leader in Me funds for the membership to the Leader in Me website. This provides teacher guides, lesson plans, student supports, on-site coaching days, and access to a coach for questions, as well as several other trainings. So you can see here, this is our Woodland Meadows staff accomplishments in 2018-19, And then this is our plan for the 2019-20 school year. And while we've only just begun our journey, we have a few of our students who are going to be talking about how this Leader in Me has impacted them.
Last year, we went over the 7 habits, and this year we became a Leader in Me school. This year, not only do we practice and go over the 7 habits during community meetings, we actually do them all the time during class and in general too.
He's a little nervous.
Basically, the 7 habits.
Leader in Me is still impacting them.
How about you?
We're all working on it. The 7 habits are up on my wall, and I still have to refer to them many times. The second movement, or the second grant that I wrote last year was surrounding the red glasses movement. I'm sure you've all been wondering why there are red glasses sitting on your table, and I love to see that so many of you have put them on already. I'd like to introduce you to Audrey Lou Jandrenoa. Audrey's the daughter of a college friend of mine and was the 3rd child born to Carl and Kelly. Audrey was born with Down syndrome and a congenital heart defect, but that diagnosis did not define her and it did not limit her reach. I take these words from Kelly as she describes Audrey. Audrey was defined by her bright red glasses, her contagious smile, her curious mind, her giant loving heart, and her lack of inhibitions. She went through life like a little bulldozer, pushing her way through every door possible to achieve her goals again and again. Audrey came across many obstacles in her life, whether medically or cognitively. She overcame them all with hard work and a smile on her face, and even more love to give and share. She had a way of loving indiscriminately and without restrictions. She was a shining example of love, kindness, and courage in this world. Unfortunately, Audrey passed away suddenly and quickly in January 2018 from a severe infection at the age of 5 years old. A few nights after her passing, a friend of the Jandrenoa family suggested this crazy idea to bring 1,000 pairs of red glasses to her funeral. As friends and family filed out of the church, nearly every pair was put on. And on that day, the Red Glasses movement began to honor Audrey and the way she lived her short but impactful life. The goal and mission of RGM is to put a pair of red glasses on every face in the world, to inspire the world to see the world through Audrey's eyes, to inspire the world to live boldly, to love big, and to pass it on. Thousands of glasses have been shared all over the world and shown up in all places, including the Pope and on Mount Kilimanjaro. This movement inspired me to write a grant to purchase a pair of red glasses for every student and staff member at Woodland Meadows. I wanted to encourage them to see the world through somebody else's eyes, to share kindness, and to spread the love regardless of typical boundaries. Whether the glasses are worn, hung up on a rearview mirror, or sit on a shelf, it's the hope that these glasses will inspire others to find their purpose, to go for it, and to proudly show it to others. To overcome challenges and to act upon their passions and pursue their goals, no matter how big or how small. To reach out to a friend or stranger and make their day a little bit brighter, to use their talents to follow their heart. We've already seen a big impact at Woodland Meadows and beyond, and we were lucky enough last April to have Kelly come and talk to our Woodland Meadows community at one of our meetings. I have a couple of friends who are going to talk about how the red glasses has impacted them.
The red glasses encourage me to be brave. I think I like wearing the red glasses because I like the message they give. I think being kind and being loving and being brave to everyone, I think it would make a really big impact on the world if everybody did that, and we can start by doing it here in Saline. The Red Glasses movement has made me bolder, happier, kinder, and care for others each and every day.
So over this past couple weeks, Amherst and I were discussing this movement and how we could get the glasses into every attendee's hands here today. She made the most gracious contribution and has purchased a pair for all of you, so thus is this gift to you today. I hope that these glasses inspire you to love big, to live boldly, to find and live your best life. And if and when you feel they've done their job for you, feel free to pass them on, share the message with somebody else, and spread Audrey's message. There's truly not enough gratitude that I can pass along to the Foundation of Saline Area Schools for their willingness to have an open mind and an open heart and a supportive encouragement to allow us teachers and staff members to go for it and to try new ideas. Without the foundation grant process, these two initiatives would not be where they are today, and for that, a million thank yous.
Hi, everybody. My name is Becca Lantis, and I just first of all want to thank you so much for being here today and supporting this amazing organization. I had been a classroom teacher for 17 years before I was given the exciting opportunity to take on the job of teacher librarian at Woodland Meadows last fall. I couldn't wait for this new challenge and had lots of ideas I wanted to try. Once I began my new role and got a chance to really look through our book collection, I realized that not every single thing about my new job was perfect. As a whole, I found that our library books didn't really reflect our compass goals. Far worse, they actually didn't reflect the range and diversity of students at our school. Many topics important to our learner profile goals were missing. Just to give you one little example. I feel that we are a very future-focused district in Saline, but a few of the books that we had about technology featured computers that I had when I was in elementary school. Some of you may remember Commodore 64. Not to mention that in many of the photographs, people were sporting mullets. So our world has changed a lot since then, and thankfully so have our style choices. So after that eye-opening experience, the 4 elementary librarians met and agreed that our book collections were all lacking in 4 key areas: digital citizenship, makerspace, growth mindset, and diversity. We decided to come to the foundation for help. The foundation made an incredible investment of $12,000 in our elementary libraries to begin a book collection transformation that would impact over 2,000 children. With this generous grant, one of the ways we were able to improve upon our collections was with books on digital citizenship. Educating students on digital safety, online bullying, and creating healthy habits with technology is a huge focus of our lessons in the library. We were definitely in need of current books to teach these concepts. One of our goals at the libraries is to continue to develop what's known as future-ready libraries in our district. With the Future Ready Library movement and now the addition of innovation labs in our elementary buildings, our district is prioritizing makerspace and STEM activities in our children's education. Makerspace gives students a chance to explore ideas, think critically, collaborate with peers, and enhance creativity, all skills that are valued in Saline schools and by real-world employers. Makerspace is a relatively new movement in education, and our libraries did not have literature that would help integrate, enhance, and support those activities. The third area of text that we wanted to add to our libraries are books that teach growth mindset concepts of optimism, flexibility, resilience, persistence, and empathy. These are important skills that successful adults exhibit. Teaching students these skills and providing literature with stories that display these traits in action will help students create good habits at an early age. Last, and in our opinion, most importantly, we desperately needed to expand the diversity of characters in the picture books in our libraries. There have been plenty of research done on the value of using books as mirrors and windows for our children. All children that attend Saline area schools, no matter their unique background, ethnicity, or personal experience, need to be able to see themselves in the books in our libraries. Rudine Sims Bishop from Ohio State University said that when children cannot find themselves reflected in books they read, or when the images they see are distorted, negative, or laughable, they learn a powerful lesson about how they are devalued in the society which they are a part. Having diverse children's books will help our students connect with literature and feel valued in our community. Now, for those many students in our schools who were already well represented in our books, this grant actually benefits them just as much. It's just as important for books to serve as windows for our students, to get a glimpse into the lives of people that are different than themselves. It offers an opportunity to get a different perspective and be more empathetic and understanding for others. Reading window books to children is an important strategy in our fight against racism and prejudice in our community. As librarians, we felt that many of our students were not represented in the stories being read and checked out in our libraries and wanted to provide windows and mirrors for all of our students to help them feel valued and more globally connected. We are by no means done with our quest to continue to develop our book collections to meet students' ever-changing needs, but the Foundation for Saline Area Schools has generously made a huge impact on the types of positive literature our students are being exposed to. At this time, our student leaders are going to come around and they are going to bring you an infographic for you to take a look at, take home, and share. This postcard gives a visual display of why it's important to have a library filled with books that represent all of our students' backgrounds. If you have contributed to the foundation, then you can say that you had a part in changing this for our students. Thank you so much for all your contributions and support.
Thank you so much. Isn't that wonderful? Look at all those cute kids. Everybody have your glasses on?
We got mixed up there.
Everybody have your glasses on. Bill, you got your glasses on. Steve? Well, a few years ago, we, in the foundation, we have student representatives. So we always have a junior and a senior. They do a 2-year term. And about 2 or 3 years ago, maybe, Katie, one of our student reps said, you do building grants, you do strategic and district grants, you do partnership grants, you of course do teaching. Why don't you do student-led grants? And I'm like, absolutely, let's do it. So a couple of years ago, the Connecting Club, which for those of you that were here last year, that was our first student-led grant. This past year, come on up, Nishan and Noah, both from the high school, come on up, Samantha and Olivia, wrote their own grant that they are going to share with you today. So please come on up and welcome our students.
Okay. Thank you, Mrs. Kreitz, for that introduction. Hello, my name is Nishan Bhattacharya, and this is Noah Walters. Last spring, we ran a program at Harvest that taught kids about the basics of engineering and programming. We called it Lego Boost. And so we used these boost kits in order to allow them access to our resources in terms of making robots and being able to work them and problem solve. Now, with that ability, these kids were able to learn basic engineering and basic things that they need to learn to go into high school and understand these great concepts at an early age. It was an influential experience for both Noah and I because we grew as teachers and students to all these children. Now, as high schoolers, we are now better leaders because of it. and it was an amazing grant. We want to thank the foundation entirely for allowing us this opportunity. Now, Noah is going to explain the inspiration as to why we did this.
Alright, it all began with the high school robotics game. Now, I've been a member of that team for a couple of years now, and this upcoming year, I'm actually team lead for one of the programming wings. And as I was trying to recruit new members, I came into a bit of a problem. As I talked to more and more people, I was hearing the same thing, that people were afraid they weren't smart enough to be able to be on the robotics team, that they couldn't do it. Now, this came as a huge surprise to me, because I thought, well, that's preposterous. Anyone can build robots. I had seen firsthand the ingenuity and creativity of the people around me, and I knew that anyone has what it takes to be able to be a part of that team. Nevertheless, I got to thinking. Ultimately, I and the others around me were willing to take this chance and build robots because we had tried it before, and we knew what we were getting into. This logically led to the conclusion that more people would be willing to attempt their hand at engineering if they had the prior experience. This is what led Nishan and me to come up with the idea for our program. We wanted to let kids have this experience early on in their life, so they would be willing to branch out and try to create their own projects later on. With this start, our idea was born. We began developing the idea and doing research on how to bring it to life. Eventually, we brought our idea to Mrs. Stager, and she pointed us to the foundation as a possible way of making this happen. We'd like to thank the foundation because we would never have been able to bring this program to life and have the impact that it did without them. Now, Samantha and Olivia, who participated in the program, will share a little bit about their experience. You guys want to come up?
Hi everyone,
My name is Sam.
and my name's Olivia.
We want to tell you about our experiments with robotics in Saline. Let me tell you a few things of why this robotics program was so helpful and a good thing. It was fun building things and a robot that follows directions. Yes, that is cool and a lot of fun. I learned about how to program. It also helped me realize that math and science is really important, and we need more of this in our everyday classrooms. It was hands-on. We all are different, and we all learn in different ways. This was a good way to learn new things in a different and exciting way, and taught me how to problem solve.
My Nana always says it's nice to be nice. What I really liked about robotics is how everyone could do it, without strengths, abilities, and differences. Also, some students face challenges in communication and social skills, but for robotics can understand anything. You can understand anything. This class also taught us to work in teams and about teamwork. We couldn't have put our robot together without the help from our whole team. Communication is so important. We want to thank you all for supporting the Saline Area Schools Foundation and the robotics class. Without all of your support, this program would not have happened. Please keep giving to make these classes available to all students.
Thank you to our robotics teachers, and go Hornets!
That was awesome. Thank you, Samantha and Olivia. We love seeing you every day, working hard towards that robot. Now, at Saline, we pursue excellence, and the foundation allowed us to do that. And we want to thank Mrs. Kreitz, we want to thank Mrs. Britnow, and Mrs. Stager for believing in our idea and working tirelessly to make it a reality. Thank you.
Great. Oh, isn't that wonderful? All right, we'll get this all set up when I introduce Ms. Shannon. Here we go for the main speaker. Shannon Washington was born and raised in Detroit and graduated from Detroit Renaissance High School in 1993. In 1995, she met Sadi Washington in Kalamazoo, Michigan. Shannon and Sadi both studied at Western Michigan University and both graduated in 1998. While at Western, Shannon worked in social justice as an executive board member of the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People. Shannon also led efforts to diversify WMU's dance department, seeking grant money to bring in African-American guest artists. She led efforts to send a diverse group of dance majors to the International Association for Blacks in Dance Annual Conference. Shannon was named Presidential Scholar in Dance by the chair of the dance department in 1998 and the university's highest academic honor. Shannon graduated with a bachelor's degree in dance and bachelor's degree in history education. She completed her student teaching at McKinsey High School, now closed, in Detroit in 1998, and went on to teach dance and world geography at the now closed Cherry Hill School of Performing Arts in Inkster, Michigan. From there, she taught U.S. government, U.S. history, and practical law at Romulus Community Alternative High School for 3 years. After having their first baby, Sydney, Sadie and Shannon lived in France for a little over 2 years. Upon their return, Shannon took a job as an economics teacher at Stony Creek High School. It was at Stony Creek High School that Shannon began to work in areas of school improvement and diversity. And in the spring of 2016, Sadie was named assistant coach of the men's basketball team at the University of Michigan, and the family relocated to Ann Arbor area. Since moving here, Shannon has been supporting efforts in Saline area schools in the areas of diversity, equity, and inclusion while enjoying this time as a stay-at-home mom. She spends most weekends at gymnastics meets, basketball games, or soccer games. Recently, Shannon was accepted to the Doctor of Education program at Peabody College at Vanderbilt University, and she is now in her second term of doctoral work. Bless you. Shannon's 2 children, Caleb and Sydney, are students in Saline schools, and I just want you to know, Sydney was part of the choir today, which is wonderful. Would you please welcome Shannon Washington?
All right, let's see how I can embarrass Sydney and Sadie. So, as Annhurst said, well, first I want to thank the foundation for inviting me. I really am not exactly sure why Annhurst asked me, but have you ever been able to tell Annhurst no? No. So, thank you for having me, and I want to thank the board members and administrators who are here, particularly Scott and Steve, because I am really a parent now. Like Annhurst said, I'm a stay-at-home mom, but I am the worst parent volunteer. So when we first moved here, and I would get emails and notes about, oh, sign up for this, come volunteer, come be here, I was just like, oh no, I can't. I'm a teacher. I can't bring the cookies, right? I'm just not good at that. And when the time was right, they allowed me to volunteer in a place that fit my personality and my passion. And for that, I'm incredibly grateful because I am so thankful. God bless room moms and room dads and parent volunteers because schools don't work without them. But I'm thankful I've gotten the opportunity to volunteer in a way that fits me. So thank you for that. When I tell people that I'm from Detroit and that I spent most of my time in schools in Detroit, started around the 6th grade, I usually am met with like a look of curiosity or just kind of wondering, like, what was that like? And I have to tell you that part of my response to that is that I had the absolute best teachers in Detroit. So most of my talk today is going to be about the importance of teachers. When I look at the teachers I had, these were men and women who, without Chromebooks or smart boards or foundations, like Annhurst mentioned, a lot of schools are closed, and most of them are closed because of money, but these teachers didn't have a whole lot of fancy help. They really had to bring class to life with just good teaching practice. And when I think about the great teachers I have, I can name them still. And I've been out of school for a while. And I bet you can name them too. I bet you could sit and think about that teacher, that one teacher that for whatever reason was memorable. So let's do that. I want you to think about a teacher that really touched your life, and I want you to just turn to the people at your table and say their name. Thank you. Thank you. Just the fact that many of you are still talking tells me how much a teacher or several teachers probably touched your life. For me, I think about Mrs. Davis. She was one of the first successful history teachers in my time as a student, and she was very honest from the beginning that she was a horrible speller and that she didn't believe in tests, right? But she believed in learning through discussion, so I was sold in that moment. Or maybe it was Mrs. Johnson, who I still emulate today. In fact, in preparing for this, I just thought about how would Mrs. Johnson give this speech, because I still watch her all the time. I still want to be like her. But she would walk down the hallway. She had this strut that I still try to emulate, where people would just move out of her way, right? And she was a dance teacher, so she would walk through the halls in her ballet slippers, and then come into the dance studio, rip off her sweats, and say 5, 6, 7, 8, and everybody just start dancing. That was back when there was dance in schools. We can work on that. Or maybe it was Mr. Klein, my honors biology teacher, who would kind of stomp into class with his arms full of this brown blanket, and he would plop the blanket down on the table and open it up and say, "I found a dead fox on my farm. Who wants to see the brain?" Right? You're talking to a bunch of city kids, Mr. Klein. We don't want to see the brain, but we saw the brain. We saw everything in that class. I know, right? Or maybe it was Mr. Hudson. Now, Mr. Hudson taught physics, but honestly, I don't remember anything I learned in physics. I remember that Mr. Hudson always gave us the best teacher gossip that we couldn't get anywhere else. He told everybody secrets, and we were always there on time, very engaged. That is inappropriate, but I remember Mr. Hudson. But it could have also been in middle school. I had two teachers that stood out. Mrs. Buckner, who drove to school in a golden Mercedes convertible and wore Gucci and Prada, and we all knew she didn't need the job, but she kept showing up every day. Or maybe it was her colleague down the hall, Mrs. Jackson, who taught me how to sew, cook, and taught us how to cater and charge people for it. And that, I made a lot of money in middle school making vegetable trays for people. When I really reflect, I think about 9th grade year, Mrs. Dinwiddie, and that's, not a fun name for a teacher, but she was probably the quirkiest teacher I had. She made us memorize a new poem every week, and we had to recite it at the beginning of every class, and each poem we had to add on to the next. So by the end of the term, we were saying all kinds of poems from, Ralph Waldo Emerson. We were saying Invictus. We had all these poems memorized. I remember the second week liking that poem the most because it was the shortest, and I can still say it today, right? So that was her impact. The poem was, "Hold fast to your dreams, for if dreams die, life is a broken-winged bird that cannot fly. Hold fast to your dreams, for when dreams go, life is a barren field frozen with snow." That stuck with me. When I became a teacher, I made my kids memorize all kinds of stuff from social studies, the Declaration of Independence, Gettysburg Address, and I told them, one day you'll be able to quote this and sound really smart to people. They memorized all kinds of stuff. The bottom line here is that my teachers were my world. There were a couple of years in my life, particularly in middle school and the beginning of high school, where home wasn't really a lot of fun, and it was my teachers who got me up out of bed onto the city bus in Detroit in the winter to school every day. And to be honest, it was really my dance teacher, my arts, that were really propelling me to school. Those teachers pointed me toward education, and they're the reason I spent almost 16 years going to high school every day. My husband and I have really been having the same fight since 1995. You wouldn't believe our first conversation. Our first conversation was about how entitled and spoiled college athletes were and how I was smarter than him. He kept coming back for more. But my husband and I have been having the same fight since 1995, and I always say, just because your job is on TV and people stand and cheer for you, you just remember what I do is more important than what you do, okay? Now, He's not here. Don't tell him I said that, because he pays the bills now. So, but to really reflect on what teachers do, it cannot be captured in an interview, on an application, or even on a resume. How do you capture the magic of building relationships if you're a high school teacher? Building relationships with 150 students. You need to know who their boyfriend is, what their mom did last night. You have to know what happened at lunch just 5 minutes ago before you can get to the Declaration of Independence. How do you capture the magic of teaching someone to read or to sing or to speak a new language? The truth is, first, it's not magic. It's hard work. And if we can appreciate the amount of work that goes into teaching kids these things, we'll see that you can't capture it. It really is special. It's a gift to be a teacher. When I had my own kids, I pledged to do for them what my mother always did for me. My mother always advocated for me to go to the best schools and to have the best teachers. And growing up in Detroit, that might mean you have to go to school outside of your neighborhood, so you have to apply to get in, to get a seat in a particular program or a particular school. I emulated my mother, and I wanted my kids to always have the best education. And as a public school teacher, I got to a place where I believed that would be in public school. With our kids, it was really important to me when we moved here that they went to the best schools. And I knew exactly what I was looking for because I'm a teacher. We chose Saline. We had choices. We chose Saline. I knew what I was looking for in terms of academics, in terms of a physical plant, in terms of technology, and in terms of the arts. And Saline ticked every box. I knew that in order for Saline to produce the way that it was producing, that there was a really well-supported army of teachers somewhere working, plotting, and scheming. That's what we do. We plot, we scheme to trick kids into learning. I knew they were somewhere. I knew that they were really supported by administrators and auxiliary staff, and I knew that this was the right place for my kids. Again, we had choices. We chose Saline. I saw in Saline what my mother saw in every program she put me in. She was always looking for that thing, that something special, that je ne sais quoi, that made a school or program unique. She would advocate for me to be in an honors homeroom or an accelerated middle school program, and when it came time for me to high school, she advocated for me to go to the college preparatory program at Renaissance High School. When I look at the foundation, and I'm a little familiar with foundations because there's one in the district that I left, the foundation supports that thing that my mother was always looking for, that thing that will set this district apart from others, and that thing that gives kids unique opportunities. What's interesting is that here in Saline, it's not just a homeroom or just one program. It truly is a district-wide culture and expectation of excellence. Teachers practice in a world where everybody thinks they know how to do our job because they all went to school and had a teacher. Often, programming, curriculum, and ideas are imposed on teachers by people who've never spent days in a classroom. These foundation grants give teachers the opportunity to practice their passion, to be creative, to innovate, to be professionals. And let me be clear, we live in a society that does not always see teachers as professionals. And the foundation helps teachers to practice like professionals. These grants turn no's into yeses. When a teacher wants to try a new idea, a new approach, a new method, these grants tell teachers that their community supports their professional practice. Trust me when I tell you, teachers are pros, professional. Even I don't tell my kids' teachers what to do. And there are plenty of parents who think they can do that. Why? Because you had a teacher. That's not how it works, people. That's not how it works. I want to tell you a little bit about my kids and their experiences with the teachers in this district. When we moved here, my daughter Sydney, Sydney, hi honey. Sydney had always taken choir. She had these awesome choir teachers all through elementary school and middle school. And if you know anything about choir, it develops a culture of its own, and it becomes a home and a safe place for kids, particularly kids who may be busy outside of school and can't do after-school activities. And that really describes Sydney. Sydney trains about 27 to 30 hours a week in gymnastics and travels on the weekends, and choir is really her only extracurricular activity. When we moved here, not only was she really mad at Dad for moving, she got over it, but she quit choir. She was too intimidated to join 8th grade choir because she didn't have any friends, she didn't know anyone. And it wasn't until 9th grade where she took a risk and joined choir again. What's interesting about Sydney in the 9th grade is that when she met Sarah Price reignited her passion for music. I saw Sydney singing, or heard Sydney singing all the time, and I hadn't heard that in over a year. I knew that Sydney was going to become one of Sarah Price's proteges when one day Sydney came home, and she goes, "Mom, Mrs. Price really wants us to pronunciate." And I said, "Sydney, that's not a word." And she said, no, it is. She said, "We need to pronunciate." And I said, I'm sure I understand what she means, but that is not a word. She said, "It is a word. Mrs. Price says it's a word." And that's when I realized she was going to learn from Mrs. Price. And to be fair, I don't know if that actually happened. I mean, if that is the word Mrs. Price actually said, but Sydney was going to defend her teacher. That's when I knew that she bought in and that she was here to learn from Mrs. Price, and Mrs. Price is going to be able to teach her. Something else interesting happened with Sydney. This is not embarrassing, but Sydney got her first B+ here in Saline. And I warned her, I told her, I said, "Do not take AP Chemistry as a sophomore. Trust me, I taught AP classes. Sophomores need to wait a year. I have classes full of sophomores. It's painful, it's hard. You don't start your homework until 8:30 at night. Don't do it. Just give yourself some time." She says, "No, Mom, I want to take Mrs. Sparks again." And I said, "Okay, fine. It's your life, whatever." And you know what? The girl kept us up at night, struggling and trudging through the peaks and valleys of AP Chemistry, trying to figure out what a crystalline solid was. And her dad and I are just like, "You know what? Just go to bed. Take a 0 on this homework assignment and get some sleep." "No, Mom, I have to do it. I have to do it." And you know what? At the end, when Sydney got a B+ in the class that she had to grind for, and got a good score on the test, she looked at me and she said, "I told you, Mom, I could do it." You're right. But it wasn't me. I'm the one trying to convince her to take a 0 on the homework. But Mrs. Sparks sparked something, I'm sure that's not new, sparked something in her that made her want to participate in that grind as a sophomore. I knew that Sydney was being drawn into the high expectations and culture of excellence in Saline when she turned down trips to California 2 years in a row to go to the Sweet 16 because she refused to miss the first day of 3rd trimester. Now, my son never turned that down. But my daughter was very clear that first year, "I can't miss the first day of honors bio," and the second year, the same thing. She was really being sucked in. Again, we're the parents telling her, "Go to sleep, don't do the homework, come to basketball games instead of go to school," and she's just like, "Nope, I'm going to school." Good for her. My son Caleb learned respect, compassion, and leadership when he joined the Star Student Program at Woodland Meadows. And when my family and I were in the plane crash with the men's basketball team, it was Caleb's principal who was one of the first to call and check in with us. She made sure that Caleb had access to services in the aftermath of that scary day. Caleb's love of music has been awakened by his band teachers. He has taken great pride in playing the French horn and is even asked to take private drum lessons so that he could hopefully one day be a part of the marching band. When I asked for help from Caleb's teachers with finding books that my son would want to read, his teachers rallied and found authors he could identify with. My son needed to see those books. that you saw in the pictures and that you see on the card, because we struggled to get him to finish a book. And it was his teachers who were able to go into the library and find books that he could relate to. That is priceless. I now kind of wish that the foundation would fund some kind of grant for a mechanism to help my son organize his backpack and his binder. You know, the kind of thing where he can just press a button and it's done because it's not going so well right now. And if that was the case, I would definitely fund that grant myself. But you can only ask so much. Clearly, I'm a little biased as a teacher because I'm focusing on their work. But as teachers, we can't do our jobs without social workers, psychologists, learning specialists, speech pathologists, administrators, building maintenance, secretaries, and the list goes on. I don't know how I would have ever done my job without the building maintenance, the secretary, and all of the people that greet my students in the building before they get to me. Those people play a very important role, and the foundation supports them as well. I'm asking you to support the thing that makes Saline special. I've lived in this community for a little over 3 years, and depending on how this next season goes, I plan to be here for a few more. I've met families that have moved from an hour away for schools. It's a true story. I met a family that moved here specifically for the schools for their kids, and they lived an hour away, and they continue to commute an hour to work. I've watched both my kids continuing their growth as learners in a way that I cannot put a price on, but I'm asking you to put a price on it. I know, and I've been told that many of you have been blessed. I'm asking you, yes, you know who you are, and everybody at your table knows who you are too. I'm asking you to put a price on it. You could fund a grant that could change a kid's life. You could fund a grant that could give a kid a book and they could see themselves for the first time in a library. I'm asking you to make an investment in kids today. I know that there was a time in this country, maybe you think there was a time in this country or in this state where public schools appeared to be just fine with just public money. That time has passed. Look at all the schools that close around us every day. The landscape has changed. School budgets and federal budgets are inherently political and do not always reflect the immediate needs of our teachers and our students. Education and the demands of the 21st century are like a perpetual, fast-moving, unknowable target. But you know what? Teachers try to hit that target every day, even though it changes every day. This is where the foundation does its best work. This is where you get to do your best work here today as a member of this community. Put a price on it. Today is your day to make a difference. Earlier in my talk, I mentioned my very quirky teacher, Mrs. Dinwiddie. I told you about her weekly poems. The actual first poem she made us memorize was meant to remind us to seize today. She would come out of the hallway from passing time, slam the door, and she would say, "Class, so here hath been dawning, 1, 2, 3, go." And we would all recite, "So here hath been dawning another new day. Think, wilt thou let it slip useless away? Out of eternity this new day is born. Into eternity at night will return. Behold it aforetime, no eye ever did. So soon it's forever from all eyes hid. Here hath been dawning another new day. Think, wilt thou let it slip useless away? Today is your day. Don't let the opportunity pass. Invest in these kids. Invest in Saline schools. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Shannon. So on your tables, there are cards, there are donation cards. Your host and your hostess at each table, you can collect these. There's envelopes to put them in. We would love you to invest in Saline area schools, helping this foundation after 32 years to continue. I always say, 30 years from now, when I'm very old, I want to look back and see this place and see the foundation completely sustainable. Please take a few minutes, fill those cards out, be generous. Thank you to everybody who spoke today. Thank you so much to Eric and to Brett for their wonderful sponsorship. Thank you to Max. Make sure next time you see Wally and Cindy at Max that you thank them. Jet's Pizza, all the other sponsors. We are thankful for you, and we are going to end right on time at 1 o'clock. If you have any questions, please come see me. Thanks again. Have a great day.